Just real quick, for the new people, please don't do other stuff that's not Senate related. You're here to represent people. So, yeah, I just want to put that out there.
Also on that note, this is all recorded, just so everybody knows. People will be able to see if you're on other stuff on your computer from the cameras in the back.
I call this meeting to order at 7:32 p.m. and we'll move to section 2, swearing in. So all of our new people, you have to be sworn in to serve in this body as a senator, and our president of the Senate, aka vice president, will swear you all in.
Okay, so for all of our new senators, if you're able to, please stand. Please raise your right hand, and if you accept at the end, please respond with "I do." Do you hereby swear that you will faithfully serve the students of Wichita State University, act in accordance with the Constitution of the student body, fulfill all duties and responsibilities of the office in which you are about to enter, and to the best of your ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the student body of Wichita State University? Congratulations.
Welcome to the Senate. Now we'll move to section 3, roll call. Clerk Carter.
With 31 members present, simple majority is 17 and 2/3 majority is 21.
Now we'll move to section 4, introductions and reports. 4.1, we do not have any messages from the student body president, so we'll move to 4.2, report from the executive branch. Vice President Fawn.
Good evening, everyone. I hope your day has been going well so far, and welcome to all of our new senators that were just sworn in. So for President Howard and I, K-Board visited Wichita State last week, and some of our cabinet, some agency presidents, and Chairperson Haynes met with the regents for an hour where we discussed things like food insecurity, accessibility at Braeburn Square, and improving transportation for international students, among many, many other things. It was really a great opportunity to meet with the regents and express our goals for this session. Today, President Howard and I met with President Muma, Dr. Terry Hall, and Zach Gearhart today for our monthly meeting. We discussed parking, the upcoming town hall, the pickleball courts. For parking, Lot 1 will be closed off for basketball games starting this weekend. They will not issue any citations for this weekend as a grace period, but instead we'll issue warnings. We would encourage students as the weekend comes around to move their cars out of Lot 1 to other lots across the university. Another one of our main focuses was being able to start up the parking committee again to discuss our parking philosophy as a university, in addition to finding ways to reduce common citations. I know a lot of students have been getting citations in the past this semester so far, so we want to really mitigate the amount of citations students are getting and reduce common errors. For Student Body Treasurer Wing, we have seen 13 individual funding applications in addition to organizational funding. 9 of those individual applications and 7 organizational funding will be awaiting for Senate approval tonight. We have a little bit less than $6,000 for individual funding and a little less than $1,250 left for our organizational funding, pending approval of the bills tonight on the consent agenda. She has also met with several individuals to go over policies and procedures behind individual and organizational funding. If you have any questions for our student body treasurer, you can email her at sgatreasurer@wichita.edu. For our Chief of Staff, Westbrook, he is uploading the Finance Committee meeting minutes and past Senate bills to our shared drive. He'll be working with our Director of Media Relations for the What We Can Do for SGA form that will go live very soon. For our Director of International Affairs, Wonjay, he's currently organizing a meeting with Brett Bruner to discuss potential academic affairs funding for our International Student Mentorship Program. This program aims to provide support to new undergraduate international students to help them get acclimated to their first initial weeks on campus. He is also coordinating with the Chakra Career Accelerator to plan the logistics for a guest speaker event next semester. This event will feature international alumni who have successfully navigated industry challenges, including those related to sponsorships and how we can provide valuable insights to our current international students. We are also working really closely with our International Student Services and Wichita Transit to finalize the orientation dates that align with travel training sessions on campus. And this initiative will aim to ensure international students are well informed about navigating public transportation in Wichita. For our student organization and council chairperson Chohan, we had a RSO President's monthly meeting last week. And that was our last meeting as our student organizations council that we have formatted for this semester. Next semester, there'll be a change with the Senate bill that was passed a few weeks ago. If you have any questions about what that bill contained, I'm sure I would be more than happy to answer questions about that, in addition to all of our senators that were here for that. But she has been really actively working on addressing queries raised by our sub presidents. So our key areas of focus will include the weekend programming grant, promotional materials for student organizations. So how do we promote events for RSOs around campus, and the new SOC structure that we approved in Senate. She has also been making an effort to attend meetings and tabling events of different RSOs around campus. The goal is to just show consistent support from SGA for all the student organizations' activities that they're doing, engage more directly with members of those organizations to discuss any concern or support that they might need, and to strengthen the relationship between RSOs and SGA. We also have an initiative coming up to create a collage post featuring all the RSO's major events for the end of the semester in collaboration with the Director of Media Relations. This is still a work in progress, but our goal is to highlight the achievements and contributions of RSOs in a unified platform promoting visibility and engagement. For our Director of Wellness and Sustainability, Hadley, the community garden is in the process of being moved. If you went outside the RC and walking around lately, they're actually working on that right now. They have made a lot of progress, so I know they have trees planted, and they're starting to build the framework for that. Safety Week was also this week, so if you saw us tabling in the RSC or went to any of our events, we had events Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We had an event today called the Safety Walk, where we had Wichita State Police walk students around campus and show them where you can access help, such as where all the blue buttons are on campus, and provide resources on how you contact the Wichita State Police if you ever feel unsafe, let's say after Senate. If you ever feel like you need an escort to your vehicle, the Wichita State Police are more than happy to help you to your vehicle or give you a ride. We will also be starting the process of trying to get accreditation from the STARS program, which is a sustainability accreditation program that many other universities use. So far, only one university in Kansas has done it, and I believe it is a community college in Johnson County, but we really want to get on that so we can see what areas we can improve in sustainability-wise on campus. And in addition to the STARS initiative, Director Hadley is still working on the menstrual products, refilling the stations in all of our restrooms, but also we're working on a framework to create a sustainability committee. For our Director of Policy and Legislative Affairs, Louis Arns, she's working on preparing for the next K-Board meeting in November and the planning of Higher Ed Day. We'll start working on the planning of Higher Ed Day when we go to our K-Board meeting in November. So after our K-Board meeting, we should have more details, invite some leadership in addition to maybe some senators to that. For our Director of Media Relations, Sanoff, she's working on event marketing and filming all the agency presidents as an update onto what they've been working on around campus, and getting pictures of them also. For our undergraduate advocate, Wassinger, she has 8 cases, 5 academic, and 3 parking and traffic appeals. If you know any students that need to file parking or academic appeals, you can always file a case through our SGA website, And from there, you can fill out a form, and one of our advocates can help you with that. For our graduate advocate, Tran, she currently has one active parking appeal case. In addition to that, she's been actively working with Dr. Enrique Navarro and his assistants to better promote the graduate student advocate services as a resource to graduate students through mass email and social media posts. She is also helping to alleviate the undergraduate student advocate by taking on any additional cases that she receives at this point. At this moment, I yield the rest of my time to our Director of the Director of Community Engagement and Outreach, Amy Nguyen, and our Director of Leadership and Engagement, Kaylee Fritz, to give their own reports.
All right. Hi, everyone. Like I mentioned earlier, my name is Amy Nguyen, and I serve as the Director of Outreach for SGA's 67th session. I just wanted to give a quick report on the efforts that I'm putting forth and would love to get y'all's feedback in the picture as well. I sent a Google Forms to your leadership team to pass on to you all to receive feedback on what's going well and what could be improved on our outreach efforts as a whole. This semester I've been doing more of the fun events, but I would love to shift the gear next semester for more serious and educational events. I also got to speak with the Kansas Board of Regents to discuss retention and how to do effective outreach, so I'm trying to incorporate their advice into my plans next semester. I also wanted to touch on the 4th annual Diversity Week that the Ambassadors for Diversity and Inclusion is hosting this year, which will be happening on November 4th through the 8th. There will be a total of 10 events happening this week, 5 of them being hosted by SGA agencies. So I would definitely urge you all to go out and support and just to learn more about the agencies that fall under SGA and also just to support the efforts that these students are putting on. And please let me know if I can do anything because your feedback is valuable to me. If you ever need me, please feel free to reach out to me through email or just stop me in the halls. But yeah, I do stand for questions if anyone has any.
Is there any questions for Director Nguyen? Seeing none, we'll move to Director Fritz.
Okay, my name is Kaylee Fritz. As said prior, I'm the Director of Leadership and Engagement. I'm also giving my report for my work under the executive branch. My Freshman Leadership Council has an upcoming event that they've been planning on October 31st from 6 to 8 p.m. upstairs 301. They're going to have pumpkin painting contests, trivia, and free snacks. They've been really excited to plan it. They've also been collaborating with engaging leaders to enhance their leadership skills, and they're also getting ready to shadow people from the Student Government Association. I also stand for questions.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you both. Okay, is there any questions for Vice President Fawn? Seeing none, thank you. We'll move to 4.3, report from the Speaker of the Senate. Hi, everybody. So myself, Senate leadership, and President Howard and Vice President Fawn all met with all of 10 of our new senators for both Monday and today. We hosted 2 required events to transition our senators, much like we did with everyone else here in our committee of the whole time. We went over numerous things, but as you all know, one informational session isn't necessarily doesn't jam-pack everything that you need into one meeting. So just to remind everyone, like I've said a couple of times, just support our new senators, make sure that they can ask any questions, make sure that this is a comfortable space to really collaborate and feel like they can see their vision completed and done this year. But let's just embody leadership and be very welcoming. And yeah, so. Beyond that, let's get to business. We have organization and individual funding requests to approve today, as you all should see in your the approval of the consent agenda in section 6. These funds, I want to explain a little bit more for our new members who are joining us who may not know the nuance behind these funds, but our individual funding is primarily for students to come in front of what's called the Finance Commission. The Finance Commission is a bunch of representatives, both within here and also people who are kind of fill out a form to serve on that commission. They do a wide array of stuff led by our very amazing Treasurer Wong, and they see both appropriations funding, which was our RSO funding, our recognized student organization funding. So if you saw some articles about that, that's what that is surrounding. We also do individual funding, which is used for students to come forward to ask for funding for conference travel and those kinds of things. And then organizational funding, that's a reimbursement process after the appropriations process in order for for organizations to hold events and do things like that, especially for students or for organizations that did not receive funding from the appropriations process. But those are on our consent agenda today. They have traditionally been there throughout the rest of this session. And I would love to answer any questions if you all have any questions about what that process looks like and those kinds of things. But as you see it within each bill, it has the requested amount. It also has the amount that they received as recommendation from the Finance Commission, and I'll also give that to Treasurer Wong if you have any questions directly for our treasurer about that. But beyond that, the funding task force that was established by President Howard this session still needs 3 senators to serve on that. We have Chairperson Bobbitt serving on that, and I still would like 3 other senators from the other committees to serve, which means if I don't get one of those senators, then our chairpersons will have to fill that role. And I'm sure they're very busy, so it'd be very delightful for you all to step up a little bit into that space. The funding task force will go over changes to appropriations, our RSO funding process, and discussion about student fees coming up, which is a whole other discussion I won't get into today, and other changes to make our funding processes more efficient, and also to make sure we're following our bylaws and those kinds of things regarding our funding processes. But I need 3 senators, which means Student Services, DEI, and Academic Affairs. I need someone from each one of those committees. So if you have an idea or you want to serve on that, please pop on over here after Senate is over so that I can add you to the list. Right now I do have someone from DEI, so thank you, Jasmine. And so I need Student Services and Academic Affairs. So there's that. Next, we have an explanation of our advisors. So we have the lovely Caitlin Nolan serving today as one of our advisors. Our advisors here are typically Dr. Gabriel Fonseca, which is some of the jokes you'll hear today about Gabe in our activity that Chairperson Grajeda gave for all of us, and the other one is Abby Whistler. Both of them serve in this capacity to ensure that they give all the information and their knowledge within their years of SGA to all of us. If we have any questions that I can't answer, that Matthew can't answer, or that some of our senators may have. They have a wide array of experience, and they are usually here to just make sure that we are doing everything properly, we're following our bylaws, and they can answer any questions concerning any nuanced issues. But they're both at a conference, a very exciting conferences. So they weren't able to make it today, but next week you will see them here. They're lovely people. They're very approachable. So if you have any questions or those kinds of things, then of course reach out to them or myself at sga.speaker regarding literally anything you have to do. Yeah, that's my report. A little more lengthy than I usually go, but considering that we have our new senators here, I just want to make sure I really explain this process so we feel comfortable and confident going into our voting procedure. But yeah, any questions for me about anything that I've talked about? Okay, delightful. Now we'll move to 4.4, report from the Government Oversight Chair, Chairperson Bobbitt.
Good evening, everyone. Just a real short report from me today. As Vice President Vaughn had said, the Student Organization Council met for its final time in the current format. Here in the spring, it will be reformatted to be in line with the resolution passed earlier this session. We are working with the executive branch to sort out organization classification and make an application available to all of our RSO presidents. We have had several express interest in the council, and we would love it if organizations of diverse backgrounds and student representatives would participate in that. For the Government Oversight Committee, we are going to be we discussed the Leadership Succession Act in committee today and recommended it back to, or referred it back to the Senate. And then tonight, the Judicial Clarification Act is on the floor. I look forward to everybody's questions and participation in that one. And then as a final push, Election Day is coming up here shortly. Please be on the lookout for initiatives and activities sponsored by Shockers Vote. And please remember to get out and vote. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Chairperson Bobbitt? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to 4.5, report from Academic Affairs, Chairperson Grajeda.
Hello, I have a much shorter report. Academic Affairs did not meet quorum for committee today, so we were not able to vote on AR-67-008, the Academic Advisor Feedback Act. Hopefully we'll be able to get on that next week. So we just did a joint informal session with Student Services. And there's still no report from Faculty Senate as they did not meet last week because of fall break, and they also did not meet this week. And I will stand for questions.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. We'll move to 4.6, report from Diversity, Empowerment, Inclusion, Chairperson Haynes.
Good evening, everybody. Unfortunately, I do have a bit of a long report for y'all. So first thing is I attended the K-Board campus visit last week. That was a pretty good time to connect with our Board of Regents. I held committee today, and the senators, we worked on our initiatives. Additionally, I will be out of town from Thursday until next Monday, so I'll be working remotely. So if you need me, please reach out via email or group me, or however you know to get a hold of me. Now time for our agency updates. So for ASC, they had their general body meeting this Tuesday. And subject to correction, some of the members of the exec branch introduced themselves to the members. So that was good. Shout out to Outreach. My ASC listening session will be rescheduled. I had some scheduling conflicts on Tuesday, so I could not make it. So that will be held before the end of the semester, and I will give everyone updates on that. And then this week is ASC's Activities Across Asia Week. And today they had an event called Visiting Vietnam. Correct? Yes. Yes, so visiting Vietnam, that was today. It's about wrapping up right now. It's from 6 to 8 in the Hubbard Lawn. They were going to play games and all that stuff, so that's cool. For Halo, they're currently preparing for their third annual baile on November 15th. They have their Halloween kickback general body meeting on October 30th, and then members are also preparing to go to Haku. For our Black Student Union, they hosted their Nintendo Night general body meeting yesterday, and they're having their October week from October 28th to the 30th. For ISU, they hosted their futsal tournament, which hosted 62 players and 125 people total last Thursday and Friday, my bad. They had, Interfest, their vendor orientation is scheduled for October 25th, so that is this Friday. And then Interfest is scheduled for next Wednesday, October 30th, at the RSC North Patio. Interfest is a really cool event, y'all. It's a lot of lovely food. Please tap in with them, and I will sit for any questions.
Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you. We'll move to 4.7, report from Student Services, Chairperson Adriana Owens.
Hello, everyone. Like Diana or Director Grajeda said, we had an informal meeting with 2 out of the 3 members of Academic Affairs to discuss initiatives, 4, my bad, to discuss initiatives like housing, parking, accessibility, etc. We continue in those efforts. We were doing mostly a workshop type of committee meeting to continue with the writing process, as it's been kind of slow to get feedback from people regarding those. As I've said, every single report, those are seen in the general senator teams under collaboration bills. Please read them and put some feedback in there. You don't have to be a part of Student Services to give feedback. Feedback is great. I think we all need it. So if you would do that, everyone in Senate, that would be great. Just take a little look-see and let us know. And if you have anything that can't be said in a comment, you can email any one of the people in my committee or me regarding those issues. Other than that, I just encourage that you contact all of us if you are interested in collaborating, or you can ask your chair if you would like to come to our committee meetings to sit in and talk about those issues. Also, due to some construction, starting November 27th, we will be having our committee meetings in the Student Engagement and Belonging Office. So if you want to come to my committee meetings, they will be held there instead, starting November 27th. Other than that, we have decided that for the accessibility survey regarding academic accommodations legislation that I am partnering with Academic Affairs and the advocates with, that for that specific survey, we've decided that instead of just targeting academic accommodations, we want to talk about a larger conversation about accessibility as a whole. So we've decided to expand that to just regarding more things than just academic accommodations. Therefore, we're adding more questions, and that survey question list will also be in the Teams. If you want to add anything or you feel as if it needs to be expanded upon, let us know. I'm open to questions.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. Now we move to 4.8, report from the central office.
Hello, everyone. My name is Caitlin Nolan. I serve as the Student Advocacy Coordinator for Student Engagement and Belonging. For my report today, I was just going to give some updates on the Shock Support Locker because in my role, I oversee the Shock Support Locker. So for the overall applications, we have had 1,086. And at the beginning of August, we were at 932, so that was a 154 jump. With that, we have seen 588 males, 482 females. Others is 9, and then prefer not to say is 7. And then for under 19 is 159. Between ages of 20 to 29 is 825. Ages 30 to 39 is 76. And 40 plus is 26. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Caitlin? Okay, seeing none, thank you. And before we continue to public forum, I just want to say also, for all of our new senators, I will be, like we discussed in our transition meeting, I will be emailing all of you a committee choice form ASAP. That will be due Friday at 5 p.m., so make sure you fill it out before then. It's just a little form just to decide which committee preferences you have, and then that way I can get those all to you before Monday, so you can know which committee you'll be going to on Wednesday. But beyond that, I'll move to Section 5, Public Forum and Presentations. Public forum provides a chance for individuals to have the privilege of speaking before the Senate. This is a time for the association to listen to what the community has to say, and to that we offer undivided respect and attention. I'd like to remind everyone that although we allow the speakers the privilege to use this platform, the opinions of the speaker do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the association or the university. Is there anyone who'd like to speak in public forum today? Okay, go ahead. You have the floor.
Pulled a hamstring, so that's why I'm hobbling. Hi, everyone. I'm here not as military and veteran Senator Wadeke, but just as Raph, a big Go Shocks guy. So obviously, basketball season is starting to start up. Volleyball's big conference is going to be at the end of next month, and we kind of represent like a lot of the campus. I feel like everyone here and their friend groups, you guys have a lot of representation, whether it's college or any of the other organizations you're in. And just as someone who's been at most, if not all the games, whether it's band, cheer, or just like being a student section leader, I'll say that student engagement is huge. We all know that, we love watching basketball and, tends to not be the greatest, but hey, we're ranked 4th in the preseason this year on the men's team. Women's did pretty good in the tournament last year, and volleyball won the NIVC last year. So this is kind of just me imploring you to, hey, you get free tickets. Show up to a game, show your support, because I can tell you from the games I've seen with minimal students and the games I've seen with almost a full house of students, there is a huge environmental difference. So you have a free time, pick up a ticket, go watch a game. I stand for questions.
Are there any questions? Chairperson Bobbitt?
Where can students go to get their free ticket?
Great question. For free tickets, you can go anywhere, really with like a student front desk. There is the Flats, Suites, RSC, Library, Shocker Hall. Heskett Center is a good one. So really anything with the front desk and students is a good choice.
Are there any other questions? Okay, Senator Murphy.
What makes a game day experience fun so students can know why to go?
A game day experience is fun whenever the students actually, engage with the team. They have themes, most if not all the games. I want to say the upcoming, this Friday, women's volleyball is like pink out. One of the basketball games, I believe, is like, it might be a volleyball game, but it's like wear a costume. It's blackouts, yellow outs. It's just you and your bunch of friends going, having a great time, and yelling at the athletes to play good and all that fun stuff that we are going to be NCAA, solid. So no, nothing too absurd, but just having a good time, spending time making memories.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, thank you. Okay, is there anyone else who would like to speak in public forum? Senator Mallard?
I'll make this quick. Usually Senator Knuckles is the one to do this, but I don't think he's here. As we mentioned, voting is open and early voting is currently available. So you can go to cedriccounty.org, elections, voting options, and early voting. October 21st through November 1st, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And Monday, November 4th, 8 a.m. to 12 at the Cedric County Election Office. And then October 21st through November 2nd, and Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6, and Saturdays 9 to 1, the Cedric County Extension's Office and I can't say that. I'm dyslexic. I can't read that. But if you go on the website, there's a lot of places that you can vote for early voting. And also in case you need more information on that, the Sunflower posted in their newspaper, I think it was last week, a lot of information about that, as well as you can go online, but make sure to tell your constituency to vote and where all that information is if they need it, as well as the Shockers Vote Coalition. I guess questions, if there's any.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. Senator Robertson.
All right, this will be brief. This is more speaking not in my capacity as an engineering senator at all, but as somebody who lives and goes to school here. 17th Street, in my opinion, and I guess I'm mostly here just to ask questions before I start writing legislation. I've noticed that that road feels too fast. It is, there are students crossing back and forth all the time, and I've noticed cars doing 35, 40 miles an hour through there while students are crossing the road. Literally earlier this week, while I was doing the speed limit, somebody just passed me in the passing lane. And I'm kind of curious what you guys would think about changing that road, or like making a resolution to ask either the city or the university to change that road, make it narrower, make it feel like it's slower so that we have less risk of killing students or injuring them or running that risk. This will stand for questions.
Okay, and make sure to phrase whatever you're going to say. You can do a statement and then a question, but make sure all of it's phrased in a question because this is a questioning period. But is there anyone who'd like to speak during this portion? Chairperson Grajeda.
So to say it as a question, are you aware that it is part of the renovation plans to add a stoplight? I don't remember exactly where, but it's kind of like counter to our current stoplight on 17th. So the point of that is also to slow down traffic.
I don't think that's enough. I guess to answer your question and elaborate a little further, while I was in Utah, I was in downtown Utah briefly, and they have a fairly busy road that goes through like between two of their major attractions, and they had separation in the middle. So in this road, there are, I believe, 3 lanes of traffic for cars. There's parking on both sides, and there's trams that go through it. And somehow that felt safer to cross because of their barriers and dividing things up than it does to go through from one end of 17th to the other.
Just a reminder, question period. So I will interrupt you if it is not phrased as a question. Thank you.
Jeopardy
Senator
style.
Miller.
To start, I've had many close calls actually going towards that on that street because I've been trying to attend different events that happen at the fraternities and stuff like that. And my question is, other than barriers, what are the plans? Because I know there's like other things such as roundabouts or like you can put a divot in the road to make it more of a windy road. If you make this proposal, will you suggest such like added features to help slow down traffic? Because barriers, yes, they're pretty good, but for straight line roads, the major thing that slows them down is like curves in the road. So will you be suggesting that in your legislation?
I will. That's something that I need to do more research on. I have done a decent amount of reading. One of the issues with just adding curves, and I think adding a bit of wiggle to the road would make a lot of sense. That street is also where WSU's deliveries go in, and so at least in that area, there needs to be a wide enough turning area for a semi truck to be able to get through to both either direction of traffic.
Other questions? Senator Murphy.
So I believe you had mentioned in your initial speech that you would be, if this were to be passed, that it would be sent to the city. Am I correct in that understanding?
Yeah, I
Okay.
really don't know where this would go.
Because I was
necessarily.
like, I don't know who has control over that. I don't know if we do or if the city does. I'm pretty sure it's the city. Thank you.
City.
I don't know where that came from, but wherever you are, thank you. But I was just wondering who that would be sent to and what level of influence we would be able to have over that.
I don't know. I think that that's part of the reason why before I send out a resolution, I will have multiple different options for, therefore be it resolved that we do this or that or the other thing and have, diagrams and things drawn up so that, it's not just, I don't want to die. It's here's how you can make people not get hit, so if that makes any sense.
And I do want to say before we continue that it is my plan for Committee of the Whole to do a section where we all can come forward and talk about the individual resolutions we're working on, exactly, perfect example of exactly what we do. But within that space, we can be a little bit more collaborative and a little bit speak more about our minds and be a little more informal. But because of the platform that is public forum, it's a little bit different than what we do in Committee of the Whole. So I'll still give space for a couple more questions, but beyond that, I'd love to take this into next week's Committee of the Whole to really have a more of a discussion on this. Are there any other questions? Okay. Senator Henley.
Are we aware of specific instances of students getting hurt from crossing the street, or is this a preventative thing?
I am not aware of any. I'm sure that they have happened. I have witnessed somebody, actually no, I have witnessed someone get clipped by a side view mirror.
Any other questions? Senator Lewis.
You mentioned in Colorado, I think it was, or Utah, sorry, about how they had barriers around or in the middle of the road, sort of. How were those arranged in Utah, and how would you propose they be arranged on 17th Street?
Oopsie. The way that they were there is that they had, essentially you had road and then a little bit of a sidewalk with a barrier on it, and in that little area is essentially between like your median lines, and it gives you a bit of a buffer, a spot that you can land if you have to play Frogger, right? For a bad way of putting it. So it's essentially a combination of fences and space between lanes that makes it a lot safer to proceed. There are also a lot of crosswalks that are specifically designated. Some of them have lights, some of them don't.
2 more. Senator Beatty, do you add something?
Are you aware of how many crosswalks there are between Oliver and Hillside on 17th Street?
I believe there are 3 marked. There is 1 with a stoplight. There are 2 marked elsewhere, and about 1 million other points that people regularly cross throughout the day.
Do you think that it would be better for the crossing of pedestrian traffic to add more crosswalks and highlighted crosswalks?
I think it would be. I think that before people put those in, they need to go and actually sit there and watch where people are crossing, because like putting another one over on the east side near like the John Bardo Center isn't going to do much to help the people that are crossing by the 17th apartments.
And senators, just a reminder for everybody, you do have to be called on individually for each question, even if it is a follow-up. But just for future reference. No, you're fine.
I remember
we're
my
gonna
first
have
time.
mistakes. It's okay. I've done it 1,000 times my first time here too. Senator Mallard, did you have one?
Yeah. Are you aware that we actually don't get a say in this really at all, and whatever we write, because it's not university property, as well as jaywalking is illegal, and students in general should not be crossing a street. And if they are doing that, that is on them. And if they are doing that when there are cars nearby, again, that is illegal. So
I am fully aware of the legal implications. However, there is also, legally, there is also the, if you're driving a car and you are speeding and you hit somebody who is jaywalking because you were the person that essentially used your car as a weapon, that does fall on you. I know someone that's gotten a felony for killing somebody in a crosswalk. Or not in a crosswalk, just killing someone that they hit in the road. I don't like that. I do understand that it is jaywalking. Part of the reason I want to have more traffic calming things and more crosswalks is so that it isn't illegal in as many places. But I also want to make sure that if we can slow the cars down a bit, then the odds of somebody getting hit is lower, even if they are technically breaking the law. I feel like 17th Street should get treated more like part of campus, and especially with the expansion plans, it will be effectively part of it. I wish that it would be treated more like the roads that have a 20-mile-an-hour limit instead of a major road.
Okay, I'm ending the question period here, so sorry. Only because I think this would be a fantastic space for next week's committee of the whole. I can see that we have a lot of thoughts, and that's fantastic. I love that. It's a perfect example. You can also sit down. This is a perfect example of a collaborative conversation, and it's what it's like for all of us to have such differing opinions and thoughts on something. So thank you, Senator Robertson, for bringing that to us, and we can discuss that next week. Will you turn off that mic, Noah? Like over there. No, that's fine. But is there anyone else who'd like to speak in public forum? Okay, seeing none, we will close that and we'll move to section 6, approval of the consent agenda. Before we get to that, let me explain what this is. So the consent agenda typically has our minutes. So we have the name of our minutes here, but we don't have them within our agenda because there's some errors that we need to pass them next week. It happens, so we won't be approving that, and that is a clerical error that'll be fixed on our part. But within all of our bills, 6.12, 6.16 is all of the funding requests from that Finance Commission of individual and organizational funding. If you scroll through there, you can see what that looks like, what a bill looks like, and those kinds of things. But those are all brought to us from our lovely treasurer, Treasurer Wong, who sits and leads that commission. And then they passed with a recommendation to approve through Senate, and Senate has to formally approve. The consent agenda is just a mechanism that's a little bit faster than just approving every individual bill. And traditionally, they have been on the consent agenda. And this year, as certain chairpeople, thank you, Chairperson Bobbitt, are altering our funding processes so that the Senate itself has less say in funding processes, and they're more within the Finance Commission or within other branches of government. So this is where they sit as per not only requests but also standard that has been for the past couple of years. But are there any questions about any of these organizational, individual funding, anything regarding these or the consent agenda before we move forward? Senator Mallard.
I know you mentioned 6,000, but I may have not heard this part. Is that the remaining amount or amount before this, or how much is left?
I did not say an amount, but that is still a fantastic question. I don't have one on hand, but that would be a great question to ask our treasurer if our treasurer has an amount or would like to grab one. But we're, for individual and organizational funding, we're breaching a point because we have a hard deadline at 15,000, I believe, for our pool of funding that we have to save for the spring semester. So we're reaching a point there. So I can't give an exact number, but maybe our Vice President, Matthew Vaughn, can.
Yes, so the amount left in individual funding is a little less than 6,000, and then organizational funding has a little less than $1,250 left, depending on if the consent agenda is approved.
Chairperson Bobbitt.
I have a question for the treasurer or the vice president. Is that $1,000 that is remaining taking into account the financial draw of new organizations that have been created?
We'll refer that back to Treasurer Wong.
So for the organizational funding, the less than 1,250 is calculating into 50% of organizational funding. So organizational funding, I usually split between 2 semesters, 50% for the first semester and 50% for the second semester. Second semester, usually organizations will slow down, and so I save about 15% just to help with the new RSOs that are coming on campus. Just for context, when an RSO is created, they all get $250 in their safekeeping amount. And so yes and no, it is not taking into consideration of the new organizations that have been created this year, but it is going to take in effect, probably taking from quote unquote second semester's funding pool, just to make sure we're covered in all bases. And just from past experiences, organizations usually slow down with their requests second semester.
Are there any other questions for our treasurer? I'll give one. Could you explain what our organizational funding process looks like in terms of the reimbursement process and how that differs from the pool of money for individual funding?
So both individual and organizational funding this year started at $30,000. So both for the half mark will be $15,000, makes it really easy to remember those numbers. So both individual and organizational funding is a reimbursement process. This means that students and organizations will first use funds, they will turn in receipts to me, and if they don't actually use the total amount that they were allocated, so let's say an organization requested $3,000 and actually only spent $1,500 comes back to the organizational funding pool. So we actually, sometimes the numbers fluctuate, just depends on what an organization uses that money for, if they use it all, and if not, then we get some of that money back to be able to reallocate to other organizations.
Okay. Are there any other questions regarding this funding or the consent agenda or anything within this process? Okay. Seeing none. So for consent agenda, traditionally what we do is, it's not like our formal voting yes or no or those kinds of things. What I do is I ask if there are any objections to approving the consent agenda as such. And if there are objections, then someone will raise their hand and then we have to go individually through every single one of our bills. If there are no objections, then they all pass as such. So as they are written within here, they pass without a formal vote. It's a way to ensure that all of these pass a little bit easier than our regular process. And traditionally, we've had our funding processes go through the consent agenda, as the funding process has altered in the last couple of years quite a few times. But with if anyone else has any questions, okay, seeing none, then are there any objections to approving the consent agenda as such? Seeing none, it is approved. See, that's what we will do every single week when we have the consent agenda, if that makes sense. Just wanting to make sure this is an accessible environment and everyone kind of understands where we're going and what this agenda means. But now we move on to the big ticket item, section 7, consideration of pending business, 7.1.
Act on request to approve SB-67-104 Judicial Clarification Act.
Is the author here and would like to speak? You have the floor.
Hello, everyone. So the Judicial Clarification Act just goes through and clarifies some things about the judiciary. So it makes clear our expectations of the court and different measures for transparency and accountability. It just provides an opportunity for us to take a look at and improve some of the processes that are in place to make the court a little bit more accessible to students and the petitioners who are going through the judicial process.
Okay. So before we get into questions, I just want to say, for again, all of our new members, our legislative process, like I discussed earlier and is within your transition guide, has a process of a first read and a second read. In between those, they go to our committees. So the first read is simply what our chairperson does is they explain what our bill is, and then people are allowed to ask any questions, and then I myself refer it to one of our legislative committees to figure out where it fits best for this particular bill, because it's judicial processes within our own institution. That was government oversight. It was recommended to them, and then they voted, and you will have that vote count as well on that bill itself. And then following its passage within the legislative committee, it heads back to Senate for the second read. And this is when we do again, he'll explain it, what the bill is, and then after he explains, anyone can ask any questions, and then we'll go into the formal debate and voting process. This is the time that you can say any amendments if you want to change anything to the resolution or bill, or if you have any thoughts or concerns, or if you want to if you're urging other people to vote yes on this or no, or those kinds of things, that will be within the debate period. And then following that, when the debate period lapses and I close that time, we will move into the voting period. And as our clerk so eloquently put, you will do usually this. Today we'll do a hand vote, but A is for yes, B is for no, and C is abstention. Today we'll just do a casual hand vote. So our clerk will give you, say your name, and then you'll say yes, no, or abstention, or abstain, sorry. Yeah, so that is our voting process. Does anyone have any questions about what that will look like before we get into questions? Okay. Are there any questions on this bill itself? I presume that, okay, Senator Mallard.
Just for the new people, can you clarify what the colored letters and words mean, like red and green and crossed out green?
Okay, so anything in red was an initial recommendation. As the author on the bill, I did go through and make the initial suggestions with feedback from members of the executive as well as the court. Anything in green is a recommendation that was made in committee. So taking the recommendations that were initially brought to the committee then went through them, either added additional content or voted to remove some of the changes that had been brought before it.
Are there any questions? I presume that means that you know what this bill does. Okay, and if you don't, please ask. Okay, fantastic. Now that this questioning period has lapsed, we'll move into the debate period, which is the time to speak in favor or against this piece of legislation, or to provide amendments if you want a piece of the legislation to change. And if you're new and don't know how to do that yet, that's okay. Just ask me and I will help you through that process and we will do it together. But is there anyone who would like to speak in this debate period? Okay. That's all right. We'll get them next time with an example of the debate period, but seeing none, we will close that and move into the voting period.
All right, so I'm just going to call out the last name, and I'll just have you go on your little microphone thing and say yes, no, or abstain. So we're going to start with Senator Samuel.
Yes.
Okay. And Senator Siddiqui? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Senator Bobbitt?
Yes.
Senator Henley?
Abstain.
Senator Brown?
Yes.
Senator Williams?
Yes.
Senator Island?
Yes.
Senator Azard? Oh wait, they're not here. Senator Lewis?
Yes.
Senator Keller?
Yes.
Senator Robertson?
Yes.
Senator Sauls?
Abstain.
Senator Foster?
Yes.
Senator Mallard?
Yes.
Senator Stinnett?
Yes.
Senator Miller?
Yes.
Senator A. Owens?
Yes.
Senator V. Owens?
Yes.
Senator Hareke?
Yes.
Senator Hansen?
Yes.
Senator Pang?
Yes.
Senator Rice? Or Diaz Rice, sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Senator Grajeda?
Yes.
Senator Luna?
Abstain.
Senator Barnes?
Yes.
Senator Haynes?
Yes.
Senator Hatch?
Yes.
Senator Pizzini?
Yes.
Senator Mainshine? Sorry. Mainshine, got you.
Yes.
Gotcha. Senator Murphy?
Yes.
And Senator Carlson?
Yes.
And Senator Beatty?
Abstain.
All right, with a lot of yeses and 4 abstentions, the motion passes.
Okay, everybody, we did our first voting process with all our new members. Yay! Good stuff. It is tradition to clap after, so we already did that. That's fine. You don't have to do it again. But usually for everything else, I allow a polite snap. But for passing resolutions, I love a clap. But that brings us to Section 9, adjournment. I adjourn this meeting at 8:30 p.m. To everybody else who's new, if you are new, one of my 10 new members, please come back up here. Everyone else, you're free.